Welcome to ProjectME, the podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Carter, the founder of ProjectME, multimillionaire entrepreneur, former TV newscaster, money-making expert, female empowerment speaker, and self-proclaimed office supply addict. My mission is to take the mystery out of making big money. Every week on ProjectME, the podcast, I'll share success tips, strategies, and stories from other entrepreneurs, experts, and millionaires, showing you exactly how you can achieve your most exceptional life. Now let's get to it. Exciting announcement for all of my listeners. I've officially opened my exclusive group, the ProjectME Passive Income Posse, to the public. This group is by application only, so we can keep the group high vibe and spend our time, energy, and expertise only helping those of you who truly want massive success and impact. You get live weekly trainings from me, special guest coaches, and direct access to me and my business partner for all of your questions. To learn more and apply, go to projectmewithtiffany.com, click on Work With Me, and select ProjectME Posse. And of course, any questions, feel free to DM me at ProjectMeWithTiffany. Welcome to the Posse and podcast, ProjectME with Tiffany Carter. I'm your host, Tiffany, and I'm so excited to bring on someone a little different for you guys today. We have such a wide range of listeners that are from all different backgrounds and have all different passions. And one area that we've not covered yet is figuring out how you can make massive amounts of money, impact, and everything from being a photographer. That's one thing we've truly not covered on the show. So, of course, I wanted to bring on one of the best. So I have on today James Patrick. He's an award-winning photographer. He's internationally published in magazines that you guys have for sure read. Shape Magazine, Oxygen, Fitness. My God, I used to have all those subscriptions when I was an exercise addict. He is also a commercial and editorial photographer as well. He's based in Arizona. He is most well known for online as being the founder of Fitposium, which is an annual conference and an online education network helping fitness entrepreneurs and talents launch their career. And that's coming up soon, so we'll get more into that. What's up, James?
Tiffany, thank you so much for having me be a part of this. Super excited we can connect.
You guys, this was a trip. It was not supposed to even happen today. You had no power. You had no internet. Then there was an issue with the booking where it was booked at the wrong time. I mean, this isn't supposed to happen, but obviously the universe felt otherwise, right?
Well, you know what? The universe might have been saying one thing, but talk about being faced with something, call it any obstacle, and saying, you know what? I'm going to find another road to make this happen. You were talking this morning, first our internet crashes throughout the entire area, by the way. And I was like, okay, well, now I'm going to work offline. I'm going to work tactile. I'm going to be editing photos. Don't need the internet for that. I'm going to be writing content. I'm going to do whatever I can until that light pops up on my modem. And then sure enough, it did. Then 5 minutes later, the power went out. I said, okay, back to writing. I'm going to do traditional writing now. I'm going to write by hand. And we made it work.
It's like when Instagram goes down, there's when it went down, what is it, a couple months ago? It was widespread panic. And it's we'll all be okay, guys. I mean, I panicked for a moment too, because I was traveling overseas, but it's we'll all be okay. Believe me, if you're an entrepreneur, you have plenty of shit to do that doesn't require being online.
And to jump on that, I looked at that when Instagram went down, because it went down twice within a relatively short amount of time. The latter one was much bigger, much grander, and more people noticed it. And I remember saying to my clients, what if it never came back? What would you do? How would you get business? How would you connect with your clients? How would you communicate your message? And that was a big eye opener for a lot of people to say that, oh, I really don't own this. This is something where I have to now diversify my marketing efforts and how I'm connecting with my audience.
Oh yeah, I mean it sure woke me up, right? I mean I built a 7-figure business, meaning 7 figures a year with no email list. And when I say that, I'm not bragging. I probably could be worth tens of millions if I had a list, right? So it really woke me up. It was like, okay, no fucking around anymore. So for so many people that are photographers, whether it's a hobby, maybe they do have some kind of business where they're actually making money doing it. You've taken it to a level far and beyond where there's like only 1% of photographers I know really are editorial photographers. That's like the dream job. So first, like, tell us, how the hell did you get in that spot?
Well, I got into photography by not getting into photography. And it's a weird way to fall into it, which is that was never a plan for me. I was a writer, and I was a creative writer turned journalist turned beat reporter. And when I was in college, I was working as a beat reporter, but I wasn't necessarily loving working as a beat reporter. It was just what was in front of me. And I was working late on an assignment one night, and I was in the editorial office, and my editor came to me, and I was literally about to head out the door to write a profile piece on someone. And the editor said, by the way, we have no photographers left in the office. Can you take a camera and go take photos to go along with your article? And I said, sure, fine. For me, I looked at it as, well, I get the byline, that pays me a little bit, and then I get the photo credit, and that pays me a little bit more. So I just doubled my income. Yes, I will take this photo. And so I take the staff camera and I'm heading out the door. And he says, whoa, time out. Do you know how to use it? No, I have no idea what I'm doing here. Like, I'm 19 years old and you just handed me a camera. I'll figure it out. And it was not good. I'll be honest. Like, that was not a good intro into photography. But this, to me, I looked at it, I was like, oh my God, I'm telling a story in a completely different way. And when I'm looking at it, when I saw it come out in print, I have my full article there, but now I'm controlling the visual component that goes along with it. And that was a powerful thing for me. So I really invested myself into learning what it was to be a photographer, how to craft imagery. I did not have any formal education in photography. Like I said, the first time I touched a camera, I was 19. A few years later, I was working at a separate newspaper, got a job as a beat reporter. And the publisher of the paper, for whatever reason, wanted me to transition to the photo department. So he moved me in and I became a staff photographer. And then a few issues later, I became the photo editor because an opening popped up as the photo art position. For anyone that's not familiar, the photo editor is not just the person who edits the photo in regards to Photoshop. The photo editor is the person who determines the visual look of a publication. What photographers get sent out on what assignment, what images are selected. So I had to go through and cull through every issue, hundreds and thousands of images to pick what image appears on the front page, what image appears on the B section, and so on and so forth. So it helped me understand from like another facet or another angle of this industry, what photos are needed to make something work. And then it kept growing and it kept scaling from there.
Now, being a beat photographer, and for you guys who, aren't familiar, you guys know that I'm a former, TV newscaster, whether it's TV or it's print, beat is like general, you could be on like the education beat, you could be on agriculture beat, you could be on police and crime beat or whatever it is. So that's what he's talking about there. So it's interesting that like you got your start there, but that is still kind of a far duration from being in the fitness niche. So how the hell did that happen?
I did everything backwards, Tiffany. Like I got hired as a photographer before I ever interned for another photographer. I was shooting commercial campaigns before I ever got hired as a freelance editorial photographer. I did not do it in the right way. So at some point I had to go back and I had to do things over in a sense and learn a little bit of a different approach. Like I was already running my photo business when I decided to intern for another photographer and learn more about the art, about the process, about connecting with clients. After college, I'll be honest, I tried to avoid a career in photography because you said it. How many professional photographers where that's all they do that like it is such a finite percentage that break that level. And I assumed out of fear, out of limiting mindset that could not be me. I'm going to do the safe thing. I'm going to take the safe job. And for me, the safe job was I got offered a job in marketing right out of college. I was actually still in school. It was my senior year, and they took me on at 30 hours a week. I was still finishing up my last semester of college. And then once that finished, then I just acclimated up and I took over this marketing department. And I ran this marketing department that I was a part of for 7 years.
Wow.
But for 7 years, I was building my photo business.
On the side.
Oh yes, no, I mean like on top of, overlapping.
Like you were side hustling that whole time.
Oh my gosh! Every lunch break, I was working on my photo business, like calling clients, texting clients. Every evening, I was working on my photo business. If I accrued 8 hours of sick time, I took a sick day and I worked on my photo business. If I accrued 8 hours of vacation time, I got so impatient, I was taking half days. I'm like, I can't wait to accrue 8 hours. I'll take a 4-hour day. And then I started to go negative into my accruals because I was like, I just have to take more days to work on my photo business. It became something I just could not ignore. And it got to a point where I wanted to make that jump. I wanted to make that transition. I should probably not have done the transition at the bottom of the recession, which is what I did. It was like circa 2009, November of 2009. It was the day before Thanksgiving. So the day before Thanksgiving, I had my annual review with my boss, and the review for the most part was good. But there was something like itching at me. I'm like, I need to say something. I need to speak up. I need to take this action. And I took the action. I says, you know what? I need to do it. This is my notice right here. And I remember my boss, he sat back in his chair, he sighed, and he said, I am surprised it took you that long. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. Like the light shining in through the window, affirmation, fear absolved. But then I had to go home and tell my family on Thanksgiving. I just quit my job, by the way. Now I'm going to be a photographer. But I'll be honest, Tiffany, it took off, and it took off so aggressively. I mean, I already had such a aggressive load of clients because I've been hustling and working so much. Yes,
not
for years.
6 months, you guys. He was doing it for years with intention.
Yes. And speaking of intention, because you asked about fitness, speaking of intention, fitness was an intention of mine. Sports was an intention of mine. It's something that I chose to involve myself in, because when I started trying to shoot everything, like, oh, I'm a fashion photographer, I'm a portrait photographer, I shoot headshots, I photograph weddings or receptions or whatever you need, I will take that photo, right? Because I was just trying to be the jack of all trades. Well, my business suffered when I did that. I was getting no clients because, one, the economy was going down. Like, this is now 2008. The economy's just dive bombing. And I'm like, well, all my clients are going out of business. Any client I have, they're out of business. And I literally thought at that point, maybe I should hang up the camera, put the camera on a shelf. Like, it's not in the cards. It's fine. And then at the beginning of 2009, I said, I'm going to give this one last try. I just can't put that camera on the shelf yet. I just have to keep doing this. And so I said, well, what do I love more than anything? Like, if I look at my body of work, what resonates with me most? It was working with athletes, working with collegiate athletes, professional athletes. And at this time, the fitness industry was getting a lot of momentum and traction. I was reading in magazines like Entrepreneur Magazine, Success Magazine. It's like the health and fitness industry as a whole is going to erupt. It is going to be the big thing. I said, well, no one is focusing on this. This is an opportunity for me. So I got intensely focused on the fitness industry. I rebuilt my entire portfolio. And that is all of a sudden when traction started happening. That's when I started to get work, because I said, I just don't want to be the best fitness photographer in my house because I'm the only one, but maybe I'll go the city. And then after the city, I'll go the state. And after the state, I'll go the Southwest. And after the Southwest, I want to take over the US in this style. And let's get focused on that. And clients responded. And this is the thing, like, we fear specialization. We fear niching down into what we want because we're like, well, then it will turn off other clients. Well, A, if it turns off the wrong client, good. But B, I ended up getting more work than I'd ever had before when I tried to do everything. And it was like blowing my mind.
Yeah, when we're the master of everything, you guys, then we're the expert of none. Like I always say, to get rich, you must niche. And it's so true. But it also needs to be a niche that you are passionate about,
yes.
Right? Because you could have picked something else. You could have been a luxury lifestyle photographer, because well, during a down economy, that's probably not great. But you could have focused in the automotive industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of areas, but you asked yourself that key question. When you looked at your body of work and you got honest with yourself of what you love the most, it was working with athletes, fitness professionals. That's the other part of your mix. It wasn't just niching, it was also aligning with what lit you up the most, right?
Oh, absolutely. Because if you're not loving what you're doing, then you're just going to feel that burnout. You're not going to be enjoying. You're not going to look forward to what you do. And I get to look forward to my work every single time I take on a new project. And what could be better than that?
Now, most people in your shoes, right, whatever industry you're in, you're getting, you're shooting cover models on the most popular, highest, publications, going out to tens of millions of people, major magazines. Like, you've reached the top, right? That's the top. Most people would be satisfied with that. Like, I shoot cover models, all the best magazines, all the best press. People love my stuff. I'm known for this. I'm the go-to photographer. But obviously that wasn't enough for you because you created Fitposium. So tell us what happened there. Like, you reached that and that clearly wasn't enough for you. You wanted more. So where did this come from?
Honestly, it came from mixing together my entire past. Because when you look at this, and I guess I should address the idea of the top. I am one of those people who are so guilty of whenever I come to a finish line that I set for myself, I move the finish line. Now, I used to do that, and I would tie happiness to the finish line. I will feel happy once I match the income I had at my old job. Well, I did that right away. Okay, well, I feel the same. I'll be happy once I double my income. I did that by the end of the year. Okay, well, maybe if I doubled that, or maybe if I set this crazy metric of I want to shoot 50 magazine covers in 1 year. Well, I did that, and I felt the exact same. Okay, and what I realized through this entire process was that for me, fulfillment was not conditional. It did not matter how much money I was making, which that was going up every year. It did not matter like how many accolades I had or how many awards I was getting. It was about how I felt in the process of doing it. Because guess what? There are years where I don't maybe get as many magazine covers as I did the year before, whatever it was. And I just learned that I have to love what I'm doing in this process. Now, don't get me wrong, Tiffany, I set insane, egregious goals for myself. I am an avid goal setter, but I've never seen a ceiling that I don't want to break through. And when it came to expanding upon the work we were doing and bringing in Fitposium, we were looking at so many clients. They'd come to us. And when I say clients, let's say like an individual come to us and they say, I see you shoot for all these magazine covers. I think I have a story. I think I have a brand. I think I have something worth putting in front of a publication. And I said, okay, well, let's find out. And, this would happen a lot. And one person in particular, they came to us and said, I think I have the look. And I said, okay, let's give it a try. And it worked with them. Within a year, they had not one, not two, but 3 magazine covers, printed magazine covers. They had half a dozen interior features, and people will go their whole careers with maybe getting 1 or none.
Right.
This person got 3 in a year and interior features on top of that. And they had this amazing energy and attention and like focus going into their brand, but they had no idea what to do with it. And they were out of business within a year. And I looked at that and I said, how could that be? How could you get this much attention, this much clout, and not be able to capitalize on it? And the answer was that I have spent the better part of a decade working in marketing. And if you expand the timeline even further, I've worked in storytelling and communicating for so much longer. It feels second nature to me, but this might not be second nature to everyone else. So let's do something to right this ship. And I've been blogging about growing a career within health and fitness for 12 years. I've been podcasting about it for 8 years or more. What we needed was a tribe. We needed a community. We needed a group of people coming to the table together to say, these are the lessons learned. These are the things we've overcome. Here's how we overcame it. Here's how I can help you. And here's what I want from you to help me. And we launched the Fitposium conference in 2015. We had 55 people in that room. And that to us was mind blowing. It's like, oh my God, we got 55 people to sign up to swipe their credit card and say, yes, I want to invest. Not only in this, I want to invest in myself. And that was that affirmation of like, we're doing something really good. And it's funny when we think about it in hindsight, because when our team and I will joke about, we're like, we literally showed, like, we planned it, but we just showed up to the hotel that day and we're like, all right, we're here for our conference. And there it was. And that was the, almost ignorantly, that was the experience that we went into it with. And flash forward, like, the next year we tripled it, had 150. Year after that, we had 200. Last year we had just shy of 300. This year we'll have 400 to 500. Like, and now it takes a year of planning, and we have 9 people on the team. And, it's one of those things, you just, as you expand it, you create stuff to fill in what you expanded, of course, but that mission still stays there. And it really blows our mind when we're helping individuals that come up to say, listen, I attended the conference last year and I had an idea, or I had a passion. And since last year, I've left a job I hated. I've launched a career I love. I'm now the breadwinner in my family. Like, we hear this story over. That's not an isolated thing. We hear it all the time. And it's like, this is amazing. This is exactly what our intention was behind launching this. And now we get to see it come to fruition every single year. I absolutely love it.
You guys can't see him, obviously, but he lit up more talking about Fitposium and these results than he did about all these magazine covers he did. Not that you don't love it, but I can just tell energetically, like, what fills your soul versus what you love. I feel there's a difference there. So your first one had only 55 people. Mindset wise, right? That could derail a lot of people. That could make someone go, oh my God, there was only 55. And, for those of you guys don't know, it takes usually several years to make a profit off a live event. They are very expensive to run,
yes.
Energetically exhausting. It's a lot that goes into it. Usually you make your money back on if you're selling, packages or other things at your event. If you guys have gone to Tony Robbins, there's a reason all those tables are all set up, right?
Yep.
So take us through your mindset, because so many people would go, oh my God, I put all this effort into promoting this. There's only 55 people. People aren't really vibing this. They're not into this. And here you had major clout. You shoot covers of world famous magazines, and I'm sure you have lots of amazing connections, and you still only had 55, but you looked at it differently. So take us through that.
It may have helped that, and I didn't mention this, when we first tried to launch it, it was actually 4 months earlier, and we only had 2 signups, and we had to cancel the event. That was the big thing. I was trying to partner up with some other individuals, and I had come up with the name, I'd come up with the brand, and I was trying to work in a collaborative effort, but it just didn't happen. We had 2 registrations in the week of the conference. Oh my God, I can't, because all the speakers were my personal contacts, individuals that I had reached out to from my network to say, will you please speak to this group? And with 2 registrations, I was so embarrassed. And at that point I said, you know what? That's okay though, because lesson learned. I'm taking it over. It's just going to be me. It's just going to be my team now. I'm going to go back out to all these individuals who I have relationships with. One, apologize that, hey, so sorry that we had to cancel this event, but we're going to do it in 4 months. And this time it's going to work because I'm doing it now. So now it has to work. And for us, our sold out limit was 50 in the room, because that's literally, we're just like, this is what we can afford. We can afford a room about this size. And so when we sold 55, it's like, holy crap, this freaking did it. Like, this is awesome. And we just looked at that as like, this is a building block. And yes, events are insanely difficult to put together. And that's why it takes us a year now. And, at last year's event, we had over 40 speakers. And part of the speakers we partner with different magazines. So like Oxygen was there, Strong Fitness Magazine was there, Fitness Magazine was there, Golf Magazine was there, Scottsdale Health Magazine was there, all in person. None of them are being paid to be there. They're there to connect with the attendees of the conference and to see that. And we had attendees from 5 countries last year. 5 countries. It was
That's awesome.
Oh my God, this is amazing to see so many people from so many backgrounds come together to support each other. It's like, yeah, and now we're just going to keep growing it and growing it and growing it. But it's going to take work without question. Like, we'll do our Facebook ad campaigns, we'll do our email marketing, we'll do our organic social media posts. That's fine. But for us, sales comes down to really just reaching out to people, being proactive, building relationships, and making that one-to-one connection. That's what gets people to sign up to a conference like this.
Yeah. And also, like, when I speak at conferences or for corporations or, for a small business professional, when I say yes, I take it really seriously because I know how much work it is to put those on, and I don't give a shit who you are. It is a lot to sell ticket sales. It can take that whole year.
Mhm.
And so I look at it as my responsibility as a speaker to help drive ticket sales. Not all speakers feel that way, as I know. I know you know that because you've been doing this long enough. But that's something, if you guys are thinking of doing an event, or maybe you've put on events before and the ticket sales aren't that great, make sure you're aligning with the speakers or even people who are sponsoring the event or coming at the event, and make that precedent very clear that you're aligning yourself with people who want to have as many bodies in that room as possible. And they're going to put in some sweat equity too, right?
Oh, that's huge. And that's part of the culture, because any speaker, any sponsor, they're part of the tribe. They're equal members. We do not want, and this is something, when I designed this conference, I designed it based off conferences I went to that I loved and conferences I went to that I had a disenfranchised feel to it. And one of the things that would upset me when I'd go to a conference is when I'd be sitting in the audience and the speaker's 10 feet away from me, but they might as well have been across the Grand Canyon in how they're speaking down to the audience. We want our speakers to be part of the tribe, part of the audience. One of the things we do to make that happen is we set up a private group that all of our past attendees are in, with all the past speakers and all those magazine editors. They're a part of the group too. And that way they stay connected, they stay entrenched with the group, and then they're there to support each other all year round.
What a great idea. I love that. I agree with you. I get so bored going to even ones that I'm speaking at. I get bored going to ones where, it's just speaker after speaker and you're being talked at, where there's not much interaction. There's no exercises, meaning you're not getting people to do anything. I love teachable moments. It's so boring. And then you walk away almost feeling drained because you've just been talked at the entire time.
And then once you feel drained as you leave a conference and you go home, you're not going to do anything.
I wouldn't come back. I wouldn't buy another ticket for the next year.
Yes. You're not, you're just going to look at it and you're like, well, that was too overwhelming. This, maybe this isn't for me. And then we did more harm than good. And that is a problem.
I love your attitude around this. I have a lot of fitness and health professionals that listen to the show, which is also why I wanted to have you on. And as a master business coach, I coach people, and it seems to be really common now that I think about it in the health and fitness space, where these mostly women are who I coach. They have 500,000 followers. Like, they're sitting on a gold mine and they're living in some broke down studio apartment in Van Nuys. And it's like mind blowing. Some of them have been on covers of magazines. It's just, I don't get it. So obviously you saw that yourself, right? You saw that they're sitting on a gold mine. They don't know what to do with it. I feel it's especially common in the fitness and health industry. Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of what we see within the health and fitness industry has fallen in that line of vanity and you'll see it even with, like, and I'll use the example of like a magazine cover. I want to be on a magazine cover. Well, why do you want to be on a magazine cover? And to say, because it makes me feel good, that's not a wrong answer. It's a clear answer. And there's nothing wrong with that. I've had clients who that is really their only focus. And if they want to do it, hey, I'm fine with it. But let's not pretend that you're building a business from it. Okay. So if you're building a brand, if you're trying to make impact, if you're trying to have a connection, you have a foresight that goes beyond that cover. That cover has a reason behind it. Okay. We can look at, like, let's say fitness competitions in a very similar way. Why are you doing this? And if you're doing it because you think it's building a business for you, well, let's talk about how it's specifically building a business for you. Or are you just doing it because your coach or your trainer is telling, by the way, who you pay, is telling you to do it? Okay. So there's a lot of misinformation or misalignment of the actions we're taking and the results we're getting. Or just look at, like, how we're building insane social media followings, but we're not capitalizing on it at all. because maybe we don't even have an engagement. Maybe it's a fake following. I mean, whatever it is. Like, I had a guy reach out to me. He wanted to book me for a photo shoot. And this was a number of years ago when people cared about your Twitter following. And he said, I can't afford to pay you for the photo shoot, but I have 2 million Twitter followers and I'll shout you out. And I said, okay, good. Here's what you're going to do. I want you to get your 2 million Twitter followers to each give you $1, and then you'll give me half, and we'll both be millionaires, and then I'll do the photo shoot. He wasn't willing to do it. And my guess is because not even 1% of that audience would have given him $1. No way.
Right. I mean, that's where I say to you guys, you don't have to have 1,000,000, 500,000, even 100,000 followers in order to make big cash. James has about 18,000. I have 16,500 or something like that. You don't have to have it. It's about the quality, the level of engagement, and the strategy behind it. And you have a business behind it. You have a brand behind it. What I also notice when it comes to, going back to people in like the fitness and health space is, I don't know if some of it is because maybe they don't know how to monetize it, or they're getting all these follows and likes because you said vanity, because, you're showing a lot of skin. I mean, it is beautiful, to look at these masterpieces of bodies. It is beautiful to look at. It can be mesmerizing, right? So you end up with an audience, but how engaged is that audience really?
Yeah, it's disappointing when that audience is not falling in alignment with what the person says they're trying to do. And I would say it's even more disappointing when that person's actions or what they are posting is not falling in alignment with what they say their intentions are. When there's that misalignment, that's when you start to lose your true audience or your true fans. It's like, I'm here to inspire, but here's some very overly sexualized images. Well, what are you inspiring right now? Because you might be inspiring, but it's not the thing that you say you're inspiring. So let's be very clear. And once again, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer in what your goals are or what you want, but get clear on that, be honest about that. And then once you reverse engineer it, every action you take, including the content you post, the messages that go with that content, and the calls to action you have, fall into that line of, this is moving me towards my goal.
Let me ask you this. I'm really good at channeling like what I feel the listeners are going, God, I hope Tiffany asked this. I hope Tiffany asked this. So I think I've got one I know they want me to ask. Can you give some examples, since you're obviously a master of niching? Can you give some examples of different niches within the health and fitness industry? Because what I also see in general too, whether someone's in business, automotive, whatever, they think that's the niche. I'm in automotive, or I inspire moms, or, I'm a business coach. They think that's a niche. That's not niching enough. So can you give some examples of niches within the health and fitness, arena?
So much of that is once someone pulls from their own past or their own experiences, and they're able to create something that no one else could create. I have a client right now who her background also as a TV or news personality, and she's creating her own online cooking show. Well, she has that on-camera experience. She has that that energy that just lights up on camera, and she is really good at coming up with her own recipes and her own cookbooks, and she's able to just create and sell on camera so beautifully well. Now, if you have someone who has no camera experience or really no experience in the kitchen, this is going to be a harder task to mount. Like for me, like I'll use something like creating fit posing. My background, I am not a health and fitness entrepreneur. I'm a photographer, but I'm also a storyteller, and I've worked in marketing. So I could come in with a different inroad into something. And I think what a lot of people do that slow them down is they have to assume that they have to be the most talented in a given area, or they have to be, or I hate when people say you're so lucky. Luck bothers me. I do not consider myself lucky. Like or as a photographer, I don't consider myself the most creative photographer at all. But I will work harder and I will find different inroads in to get the work that I want to get. I mean, that's kind of derailing from the niche. But you brought up like the whole fit mom thing. Like that was really popular 10, 12 years ago when the first 10 people did it. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not anymore. Like, and so when someone comes and says, well, I'm a fit mom and I want to inspire other fit moms, it's okay. Well, and what? And what? I was talking to someone this week who is legally blind. And being blind is not, by the way, it's not a gimmick to get more clients. But here's the key is when people talk to her, they assume that her being blind is the biggest challenge she has to overcome, but it's not. And all you have to say is that. And now it's like, well, what is it? What is it? And now it's this conversation of how she helps people overcome their own challenges. Because guess what? She has no excuses in her own. Or I was talking to another client, this was yesterday, and she has a genetic disorder that her mother had. And it killed her mother at the age of 66. She's now turning 50. Okay. Talk about like having to be proactive about your health, about your wellness. Okay. Now, those two examples, that's not to say that you have to have this major affliction or this major disorder, but there's something in what you do and what your story is and what your past experiences are that make you different from anyone else. And it's peeling back that layer. And guess what? Once you think you have it figured out, a few years later, you're going to peel back that layer even more, and you're going to find a new bit of what your why is. I think the best people who launch something, they take the time to really do that, whether it's meditation, journaling, that exploration to figure out what is that why beneath all these layers.
I fucking love this because I always say it's your stories that sell. It's not your stats and facts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. You know, I'm not going to, here's an example. I'm not going to hire a trainer. Okay. Whether it's a virtual trainer or in-person trainer, because they've trained this and that other celebrity. It might pique my interest, right? To give them social proof, because they have the best body of all the trainers. I might take notice, but that still doesn't necessarily matter. They're very fun and great to be around. Likability factor, that's great too. I like that too. But it's someone's story that'll make me buy or feel connected to or be loyal to, because I'll see myself in that story. So it's your stories that sell, you guys. That's what makes you different. I know it's sometimes hard to see your own story because a lot of times many of us will be like, well, it's not that big of a deal because we lived it. But that's why you go to Fitposium or you work with someone like James, right? In order to peel back your story. When you work with someone who's a professional marketer, especially when you have like a journalism background or you're working with cover stories, right? Why the fuck do you buy Shape Magazine? Why do you buy that episode if you're not, that actual edition, and you're not, a subscriber of the magazine and you're in the, aisle at the grocery store? Why did you buy that? First off, there's a visual component that caught your attention first, and then it's those damn headlines on the front, right? Now, if the headlines were pedestrian and the same shit, I mean, some of it's the same. It's like, lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks, get abs for summer. I mean, some of those are just marketing things we know that work, but what are you really gravitating towards? You have to create that for yourself. So leading me to this question for you, since you are a master of knowing what sells, because you wouldn't keep getting hired for cover shoots if your shots didn't sell magazines, right? Mm-hmm. So what is it do you feel that sells a magazine cover? Like, what is it about that visual that you've really got a knack for seeing?
Wow, that is such an interesting question. And it's something that I've thought about, but I don't have the best articulation of what it is, because I have to talk to it as a photographer. When I see like a sea of magazine covers, okay, you might go one of two different directions. One, you might go with what I would just call brand consistency, which is, hey, look, our last 200 issues have looked like this. It needs to look like this. Okay. We've just determined what this brand style is going to be for our covers. And in the health and fitness industry, that is not a big range. Okay. That is a very specific shot. Okay. Now, over the last, 20 years, I've developed my lighting style to jump out on a cover. Okay. But once you move past the technical setup and the component of technically setting up a photo, then it's all about what I'm going to do on camera or on set, because I'm going to work with that subject and I'm going to pull something out of that subject that they did not know was possible. That's my job. That's why I get hired, because I can connect with the subject in as little time as I need to connect with them. Okay. And I get this from working with a lot of professional athletes. I get hired to photograph a professional athlete. I show up on set and the publicist is going to walk down to me and says, you have 15 minutes. And I have to do hours worth of work in 15 minutes. And when that athlete walks on set, the time has started. And if that athlete is nervous, hesitant, like not feeling comfortable, I'm going to spend as much of that time as possible getting them to feel like they belong there, like they deserve to be on set, like this is going to be the best experience. And I will spend all my time doing that and get one great photo as opposed to taking 15 minutes worth of mediocre photos. Okay. And that's, if I had a superpower as a photographer, it's I can connect with someone on set and I'm going to make them feel comfortable and we're going to have a great time. Because so many of the people I work with, yes, I shoot for a lot of fitness magazines and we get these amazing professional models. But guess what? Professional athletes are not professional models. And a lot of the individuals I've worked with, entrepreneurs, business owners that I have to take photos of, these are not people who are comfortable being in front of the camera. But we're still going to make something amazing because my name goes on it. So that's option A, is to shoot within what's the brand equity is. Okay. And I've had comments from some of my clients where my images on their magazine cover were the best selling issues that they had. And to me, that's a huge vote of confidence. Like, good, we're doing the right thing. Now, the other side of that, and the part that really gets me excited, is when a magazine gives me license to do something different. Now, it's not often because covers are so precious. I mean, it's what has to sell that magazine. But every now and then a magazine will say, you know what, we're going to try something a little different.
Or they give you the creative freedom. That's a huge deal, you guys. That's like almost never happens.
It's rare. Like they'll give it to me on the interior features. And that's why, like, as a photographer, actually, even though I'm known for covers, I enjoy shooting interiors more because interiors, hey, that's my time to be creative and to really test things out. But every now and then a magazine will let me do it on a cover. And I had one, it was the year before it was the beginning of last year. So the beginning of 2018, where I was working with this magazine. I had about 6 years of experience with them and they wanted something different and they trusted me enough to send them something different. And so most fitness magazine covers, high key white backdrop, either a high contrast, bright high key lighting, or I do a 360 clamshell lighting. It's going to look something like that. For this one, I did black backdrop, very almost impossible on a fitness magazine cover. And I did very intense, dark, gritty edge lighting. So the person was very darkly lit with just this like halo of light around them. And then I had like water just misting over the entire frame of the photo. And it was such a risky shot. And it was, we used my own production manager as the model. And this is not, I mean, she's amazing. I love her dearly, but she's not like necessarily a professional fitness entrepreneur or anything like that. She just looks the part. Like she looks the part. And she was so perfect for this. And she had these headphones on and her shirt said hashtag, like I think it said hashtag killing it. And she had these 2 dumbbells in her hand. Everything was flexed and ripped and shredded. And I just popped the shot and I was like, oh my God, we just did it. Like, and that was the shot. And the magazine took a flyer, ended up on the cover, and it did amazing. I was so excited when that came out.
And the lesson in this, you guys, I mean, he got that creative, right? They gave him that creative control, but most of you listening, you have your own creative control and do something different. When you do something different, go left when everyone's going right and experiment and see what happens. That cover might not have sold. It might not have done well, but they were ready to do something different because you've got to mix it up. So why not? Why not? So what is the best way, James, people can learn more about Fitposium and find out like if this is like the best place for them to go to? Where do they go? What happens?
Absolutely. So we have our website. It's fitposium.com. And there you'll have information about the conference, the speakers we have lined up this year, some of our magazine partners that we already have. So we're an early bird right now as of recording this. It is going to be, it's October 3rd through 6th in Scottsdale, Arizona. We're going to have a couple dozen like legendary presenters that are literally going to teach you how to get more clients, how to make more money, how to increase your brand awareness, how to level up the impact that you have with your clients. That is our intention with Fitposium. And we will bring out the magazine editors to be there in person, where they're not just going to be like across across a big room and you're like, oh, well, there's a magazine editor across the room. We set up one-on-one portfolio and pitch review meetings where you will sit down face to face, and it's like speed dating. Face to face, you're going to sit down with that editor, you're going to shake their hand, and you're going to sell your story. You're going to tell them, here's who I am, here's what I do, here's what I'd like to do for your magazine.
That right there, to me, that's worth the value for the whole thing. If that was my goal, I can hear some of you guys already going, oh my God, like, well, I wouldn't, I don't know if I'm ready. I'm not fit enough. I'm not thin enough. I'm not cut enough to go to his conference. Well, fuck that, because it doesn't matter, right?
And to be clear, you don't have to be any of these things. You don't have to be a fitness talent. You don't have to be a personal trainer. We have individuals who come who they're starting their own clothing line. We have individuals who come who are photographers in the health and fitness space who want to get these clients. Like, absolutely, what better place to be? Like, if you have any connection to health, wellness, fitness, and you are trying to build a business, build a brand with this audience, this is the place you have to be.
Yeah, be around these people, be exposed. And, I can just tell from speaking with James, plus, one of my friends is a speaker at the event, and I know, his style is similar to mine. I know a lot of you guys have seen me speak, where no one's going to be speaking at you. These speakers are going to be there during the day to talk to after they're off the stage. It's not like they whisk in, like they think they're Oprah and then disappear. I fucking hate when speakers do that. It's like one of my biggest pet peeves. It's like, let's all calm down. Okay, we're like,
and the coolest thing is like the speakers will literally hang out the entire weekend. Like you'll see them at the networking mixers, at the receptions. Like they're there the whole time. We had one speaker last year who, after a presentation, she just basically set out a calendar outside of the room she was presenting in, and people could schedule free one-on-one meetings with her. Literally, every time we walked through the main foyer, she was having a meeting with a different attendee, just giving them free branding advice.
Wow. I love that. Well, as I'm famous for saying, like attracts like, so you're obviously a very generous person. So you attract generous people at your conference. If you weren't a generous person, you would not attract that type, right? So you guys go check it out. I'll make sure everything's in the show notes. What's your Instagram? Is that the best way for people to DM you if they have any questions?
Sure, absolutely. So Fitposium is at Fitposium. My own is at jpatrickphoto. And then they can also connect with me through my website, which is real simple, jamespatrick.com.
So if you guys loved this episode and you got something out of it, take a quick screenshot right now, tag me at ProjectME with Tiffany, and also tag James. I'll make sure if you're driving or something and you forget to tag him, I'll make sure to share it and tag him. But let us know you got something out of it, that this fired you up, that it got you thinking differently, where you're like, oh my God, I've been doing that whole helping moms get fit thing, and I thought that was a niche. Like, share this shit so that other people can hear this episode and learn from it, and hear from someone who has already done it and helps hundreds and hundreds of other people find their niche that's the winning niche for them. All right, you guys. Thanks so much, James, for being on. I love talking to you. I'm glad we made this work.
Thank you, Tiffany. I really appreciate it.
All right. Bye, guys. Talk to you later. If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.